CBT Nuggets ITIL Update, Continual Service Improvement. Well, in this fifth and final update nugget of this ITIL series, we're going to look at the process of continual service improvement of the ITIL. The 5 knowledge areas that we're going to cover in this final nugget are, first of all, talking about goals and objectives. Then we'll look at the CSI model, the Continual Service Improvement Model, as well as the Deming Model. We'll also talk about service level management. Now keep in mind that the service level management aspect primarily is going to fall under the service design phase, but it does play a pretty important role in continual service improvement. So we're going to talk about it here in this final nugget again. Then we'll also look at service measurement and service reporting, and then finally take a look at the 7-step improvement process. Now, the main goals and objectives of continual service improvement are pretty self-explanatory. We want to make sure that we have constant and continual perpetual improvement and enhancement to the IT service management processes as well as IT services. Basically, anything that falls under the umbrella of IT service management. And although this is a phase, we also want to basically tie this into all the other phases of the life cycle. In other words, you can always find constant improvement in the design aspect, in service strategy, in service design, in service transition, in service operation. It's kind of the glue that holds together all of the components of the service life cycle, and it helps us guarantee that the services, along with the capabilities for providing those services, are going to continually improve and mature. And the basis of which our improvements are going to be made to both the services and the capabilities of an IT service provider or an in-house service desk solution is going to be the CSI, or the Continual Service Improvement Model that we see here. And what we see over here is kind of the continuous process. It's a summary of this repetitive cycle that we go through to improve. And it really comes down to asking questions within certain categories. So first of all, we want to ask the question, what is the vision? And this is going to relate to our business vision, the mission statement. This may be expressed in a corporate governance or a mission statement on a corporate web page, for example, the goals and objectives of the organization. So when we ask the question, what is the vision, we're basically saying, to answer this question, we're going to meet this or address this question with our service strategy and our service portfolio. It's these two components of the life cycle that are going to basically define what our vision is. Then once we get beyond kind of this, ethereal thought, we want to ask the question, what is our existing posture? Where are we now? And of course, that's going to lead to baseline assessments. In any process, to determine where you are now, you have to create a baseline. So these are the baselines that we talked about earlier in this update nugget. The baselines that we take using the service portfolios, service level management, and financial management. All of those things have to have initial baselines, initial frames of reference. You can't have constant and continual service improvement if you don't have a frame of reference or a baseline assessment. So we know where we are now. The question is, and this is also going to come to a great degree from the vision, where do we want to be? And this is our service portfolio, the service measurement and reporting. And we have to be able to express this and report this in measurable terms with measurable targets. So we know where we are, we know where we want to be. The next question is, how do we get there? And this is really where IT starts to earn its salary, the service and process improvement. And this is the overall CSI and all of the ITL processes that are part of the life cycle that help deliver that. Strategy, design, transition, operation. And then the big question, once this is all done, did we get there? And we need to have, excellent measurements and metrics. And this, how do we get there, is from our service measurement and reporting. And then from here, the next question is, how do we keep the momentum going? And that is really where continual service improvement comes in. How do we keep this process going? How do we keep the ball rolling, and in the entire time make things better for ourselves, for our customer, for our client, for the entire organization as a whole, for the entire industry as a whole? And of course, this brings us back to service level management. As I mentioned, this is also part of continuous improvement or continual service improvement, where if we look at this from a process standpoint, we have the service request, then we're going to negotiate the operational level agreement. This is the internal agreement that supports the service level agreements. So the next step is to negotiate the SLA. That will lead us to new services depending upon customer needs and changes in the industry, changes in technology. We can monitor those agreements. This all becomes part of our catalog services with the ultimate goal of meeting business requirements. So the primary goal of service level management is to make sure that you've got an agreed level of IT service provided for all of your existing IT services, and you're looking ahead to future services to be delivered so that you can meet achievable measurable targets. SLM also proactively seeks out and implements improvements to the level of service delivered to customers and users. This is an important aspect of the continual service improvement. I mean, why would you start out on any service improvement process if your customers, either internal or external, and the business are already satisfied with what they have? Well, because you're going to have constant changes in business requirements. That's just the way it is. And service level management is concerned with things like analyzing data, reporting on that analysis, evaluating that report, and of course, improvement. And logically, if you have a service level management process, then you're going to have a service level manager. And this person must be high enough in the organization to represent the entire organization. He or she has to have the authority to make the changes necessary to implement what's necessary. This person manages the service catalog, manages the SLAs and the OLAs and negotiates them as well, making sure that you have a proper alignment with all the contracts. The manager identifies and manages improvements to services and processes and analyzes and reports on service level achievements. SLA, not service level agreements, but service level achievements. This next topic is a huge part of continual service improvement, and that is service measurement and reporting. The goal here is the overall coordination of the metrics, the gathering of data, the data mining, the reporting, and the analysis of the overall design, the overall solution. And again, the key here is coordination. It must be process-based, and you have to have excellent metrics, excellent key performance indicators, and an effective reporting tool. Again, I'll point you back to SharePoint as being a good solution for this. Then we have to answer the question, why? Why do we monitor? Why do we measure? Well, we do this to validate, to assure, to make sure that we're supporting our design strategy and our design vision, to govern or direct. We want to guide our IT personnel. We want to guide stakeholders and end users into changing their behavior based on factual information and factual results so that we can prove to them why a particular change or a particular hardware or software implementation is in everybody's best interest. And so we have to kind of direct them with the facts, not with emotion. We have to justify this. We have to have the right targets and the right metrics, the right key performance indicators, and then intervene, periodically taking corrective actions and corrective measures to identify opportunities to enhance the service design. I've mentioned metrics several times now and the importance of our metrics. We've got three main categories of metrics. First of all, we've got technology metrics. These are the components, the application-based metrics: availability, performance, security, interoperability, availability, all those things. Design architects, network engineers, security engineers, operators, technical specialists, these are all responsible persons to help us define technology metrics. Then we have process metrics, and that's really going to be where the ITIL starts to come into place, is these process metrics. We're going to capture data in the form of the key performance indicators that we've mentioned so far in this update series. Performance metrics, activity metrics for the service management processes. And we're going to use this to evaluate the overall success of a particular process. Whatever KPIs we choose, they need to help us answer questions about quality, about value, about performance, and about compliance. And it's the aforementioned CSI that we talked about in the previous nugget that is going to leverage these metrics to identify places where we can implement improvement for each process. Service metrics. This is the overall result of the end-to-end service from beginning to end of the life cycle. Component metrics are going to be leveraged here to calculate. We'll have service level managers and service owners that are responsible for defining the appropriate service metrics that we need to meet this particular goal. So three main types of metrics under the umbrella of service measurement and reporting: technology, process, and service metrics. And of course, it's important to create baselines. Okay, this is a benchmark that we capture and we use as a frame of reference for later comparison. Baselines have to be documented. They need to be recognized and accepted and signed off on by management. The entire organization needs to know these baselines. They need to be strategically established. They need to be objective. They need to have a tactical and strategic process behind them. They have to be supported by operational metrics and KPIs. Williams Edwards Deming was an American statistician, and he was well known for work that he did in Japan after World War II, where he taught top management, where he instructed the top management to improve design and service to improve product quality, testing, and sales through a global market. And we can see, of course, through history over the last 50 years, the success of Japanese technology and manufacturing. William Deming played a huge role in that, a significant contribution to Japan's high quality output of products and their economic power. And so we have this Deming cycle that you might want to be familiar with, where you've got the four phases here: plan, do, check, and then act. We've got plan, where we have the project plan; do, where we actually have the project itself; check is going to be auditing and reporting and monitoring; and then act is new actions. It's an iterative process. This is going to work within the confines of maturity levels on the vertical axis and your time scale on the horizontal axis. Remember that continuous improvement is a key aspect of every process in the ITIL. And the CSI improvement process is fundamentally based on this Deming cycle of continual improvement, PDCA, Plan, Do, Check, Act. It's an ongoing process where you improve quality through incremental steps. And these four steps, plan, do, check, and act, all have different actions that occur during each phase. So for example, in the plan phase, this is where you're going to have things like your scope and your requirements and objectives, roles and responsibilities. In the project phase, you're going to be doing, okay? So we do funding, policies, reports, managing, making changes. In the check phase, where we're going to audit, we're going to have monitoring, surveys, reporting, auditing. And then in the act, the new actions, this is improvement, constant improvement, assessment, and then re-implementation if necessary based on constant and continual improvement. Now, it's very common for this Deming cycle to be kind of extracted and built out or transformed into many more detailed processes and actions to be taken to give us improvement of IT service management and IT services in general. One of those is the CSI 7-step improvement process. Let's take a look at that. Not only is this going to be a key process for the ITIL foundations, but you're also going to want to memorize this for your exam. So obviously this entire 7-step process is going to be goal-driven or process-driven. We have to have a vision and a scope and objectives. There have to be discrete goals that we're working on. Our ultimate goal is to identify the vision, the strategy, the tactical goals, and the operational goals. How do we get to those goals? Well, first, we have to define what we have to measure. Then, we define what we have the ability to measure. What do we have the ability to control, and what's out of our control? Next, information gathering. Okay, the how, the when, the who, the integrity of the data. Then fourth, we're going to process the data. How often do we gather the data? What is the format going to be? Is it going to be paper-based? Is it going to be web-based? Is it going to be expressed in graphical representation like bar charts or pie charts or other project management charts? What systems are we going to use? What is the accuracy of the processing? Then we're going to analyze our data. We're going to find relationships between different data points and different conclusions. What are the trends? Which trends do we have the ability to follow? Are we staying on target? Are we staying on plan? Are our targets being met? What corrective actions do we need to take? And when we decide to take corrective actions, we have to go back and start gathering data again. After we have analyzed the data, we're going to present the conclusions. We're going to use that data, that information, the assessments, the action plans, the summaries, and then we're going to get to step 7 where we implement the corrective action. And again, this is going to be corrective action because we're talking about continual improvement. This is the 5th phase. This is not design. This is not transition. This is not operations. This is constant improvement. So we're talking about implementing corrective actions here. And by implementing corrective actions, after following through with the previous 6 steps, we will be able to identify and reach our goals, our vision, our corporate strategy, our tactical goals, and our service operational goals. In this 5th and final nugget of the ITIL Update series, we talked about continual service improvement, and we covered 5 key knowledge areas. We looked at the goals and objectives of CSI. We looked at the CSI model. We revisited the concept of service level management. We discussed service measurement and service reporting, and then looked at the Deming model and finally the 7-step improvement process. Well, there it is. You have the 5 nugget series of the update to the ITIL series. I hope you enjoyed it. On behalf of everybody at CBT Nuggets and myself, Michael Shannon, I want to wish you all the success on your ITIL future and on your entire IT career. Once again, thank you for choosing CBT Nuggets as your training solution. We'll see you next time. Take care.